Hey Facebook, it's Brianne from M&IB Consulting. I wanted to hop on just for a couple minutes today and do a kind of pre-training video because we're doing a training tomorrow to kick off our summer school of operations. But I wanted to just hop on Facebook because there's a question that I've been getting that I thought probably a good idea to address, and that is, what is operations anyway? So I thought I would just take a couple minutes. If you're watching this and you've got questions, you can go ahead and add your questions. And, there's a little bit of a delay, so hopefully I'll see them before I head offline. But I want to talk about what operations is, why it's important, and kind of just get your head thinking in that way. Because I know for a lot of people, thinking in kind of this logistical kind of way isn't really it's not something that you might think you're good at. And so I want to show you how simple operations is, what it is, and that'll all lead into tomorrow's training where I'm going to be giving you some really quick and easy tools that you can use to actually start to manage your operations in a different way. So if you haven't registered for that training, you can find it, a link to it on our Facebook page under the events. We've got it listed there as an event, or I'll drop a comment in the comments of this video once I'm done with a link to register for that. But without further ado, what is operations anyway? Well, it's actually kind of a hard question to answer because there isn't any one definition. I did a little bit of research, some Google research before I got on the video here, and I was like, everyone is saying contradictory things. So Wikipedia, gives the very unhelpful definition that says, operations involves the responsibility of ensuring that business operations are efficient in terms of using as few resources as needed and is effective in terms of meeting customer requirements. It is concerned with managing the process that converts inputs in the forms of raw materials, labor, and energy into outputs in the forms of goods and or services. And I read that, I was like, well, yeah, technically that's what operations is, but what does that mean, right? What does that mean, especially if you are in the information business space, you're doing blogging, or you've got online courses or guides or ebooks, or you're doing workshops, maybe you're even doing that in person rather than online. What does that actually mean, right? You don't have raw materials, it's not like you're running a factory. So, okay, Wikipedia, not so helpful. And then I did some more Googling, and I found, a couple of other places says, well, operations is logistics and supply chain management. I was great. 2 more terms I have to go and look up to try and come up with a definition of operations management. And I felt as I was doing all of this looking that I wasn't actually getting any closer to a useful definition of what operations management is for an online information or an online training business. So then I thought, well, this actually is something I had looked up a while ago. It's like, well, let's think about what, we know that there's a COO role in a lot of these big companies, a chief operating officer. And in theory, everyone that reports directly or indirectly to the COO is involved in operations. So I thought, well, maybe we can see what a COO does, and that'll tell us what operations is. And there was an article that I found in Harvard Business Review, or on Harvard Business Review's website, and the gist of that one was the COO does whatever the CEO needs them to do, and the COO is whatever the CEO wants them to be. Again, not very helpful. And in fact, what's really interesting about the COO role is that a lot of companies, as they grow, eliminate that role and they split it out into all kinds of other different C-suite roles. And so, there's all these kind of high-level definitions of what operations is, of what a COO does, but none of them I really found useful in terms of breaking it down into something that would work for this kind of new wave business. So I came up with my own definition. Here's how I think of it. In your business, you have a what and you have a why, right? You have a what and you have a why. You have a what, that's something, you have something you sell, right? It's a product or a service. You have a what, a thing that you sell. And then you have a reason that you sell that product and not others, because of your customers, because of your particular strengths, because of what you want to put out into the world. And that's your why. So you have a what and you have a why. And a lot of business owners, as they're just getting going with their business, maybe they're shooting for that first, big 6-figure year, having a what and a why is enough, because you can get a whole lot done with just a whole lot of what, a whole lot of why, and a whole lot of hustle. But for your business to grow, you need to have something that bridges those two together. It's not just enough. There comes a point where it's not just enough to have a what and a why. You need to have a strategy for the how. You need to have a way of figuring out how you are going to sell strategically the products. You need to have a strategic framework, a how that is going to allow you to do the things that you want to do for your why. The how is the world of operations. Whenever you find yourself asking how in your business, you are asking an operations question. So that can mean marketing. That can mean sales. That can mean managing the product life cycle from research and development to designing and delivering and getting feedback and iterating on a product. That can mean developing your team. How do you build a team? How do you make sure that you're using the most of the people that you have on your team? Systems and processes are an example of operations. They're not operations in and of themselves. They're kind of this piece of the puzzle, because systems and processes are part of how you make your what and your why come together. It's part of how you can take your products and have them achieve the vision that you have for your business, for your customers, and for yourself as a business owner. All of those things, marketing, sales, product lifecycle, R&D, team development, systems, processes, they're driven by the what and the why. But making them happen lives in the territory of how. And that, to me, is what operations is. Operations is how you answer the question, how. What that means is that everyone has some form of operation strategy in their business. Everyone has some level of figuring out how to get things done. But what I've seen and what I've experienced myself and with clients, and just, from hanging out with all you great folks on Facebook or in other communities, is that a lot of times we're not very strategic about the how. We don't necessarily have a plan or a method or something that we can reliably count on to make that how happen. And so that's why I want to spend this next 8 weeks on Facebook Live, on our site, through our emails, talking about the how. And we're going to be talking about specifically some specific techniques that you can use to operationalize your what and your why. So I see we've got a couple of people watching live right now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching live or if you are watching this on the replay, I would love if you've got any comments or questions, if you have maybe some thoughts about what operations is in your business, or maybe just, here's a question, how strategic do you feel like you've been able to be with operations in your business? I would love if you would leave a comment for me on that, not only so that we can have a little bit of a dialogue here on Facebook, but also because, as I said, this summer I want to be teaching you about really practical ways to make operations work for you in your business. And so anything that you share here, I can use to tailor that for you. And I should also mention, while you're thinking and seeing if you've got any questions, that we are going to be doing a live free training kickoff event tomorrow. And there's nothing for sale, okay? There's no pitch. There's nothing for sale on the back end. There's no autoresponder that's going to try and upgrade you to a course or a book or coaching or anything like that. Nothing like that at all. But we're doing a free training tomorrow, and I'm actually going to be walking you through a tool that we've developed to help you balance and manage the why and the what and the how, and figure out what's my priority and what should I be focused on and where am I going to make the biggest impact. It's a simple tool that you can use. So we're going to be going through that tomorrow. If you want to register for that, as I said, go to the events on our Facebook page, and there's a link there where you can get registered for the webinar. Otherwise, you can head to mnib.ca/School of Ops, and I'll put a comment in the comment box with a link to that. Okay, we have a comment here from Donnell Hill, who says that they haven't felt very intentional in their operation strategy. It's been more of a let's see what happens type of approach, and that way of working has been exhausting. Yes, I completely agree. And so this is really interesting. Some people said, well, why are you trying to do a free training over the summer? That seems like a terrible time to be trying to do stuff, because people want to take time off. As far as I'm concerned, the summer is the best time to be thinking about operations and operation strategy, because it's the time when you want to be able to take off middle of the day, or you want to be able to go on vacation, you want to be able to spend time with family. I know for our Aussies it's winter, but you're coming up into winter. You want to kind of hole up inside and maybe cuddle up or cozy up in front of a fire. When you don't have an intentional operations strategy, you're just always feeling like you're feeding the hamster wheel. And so that's why I actually wanted to do this specifically in summer, because I want to take all this hamster wheel stuff and I want to help you build some really simple stuff, some really different, maybe even just ways of approaching your operations strategy, so that it's not adding more to your plate, but it's putting a framework and some boundaries around what you're doing, which will make it easier for you to take that time off, easier for you to relax, easier for you to take a breath. That's a great comment. Thank you for sharing that. I love how you said, it's a let's see what happens type of approach, because that's exactly it. That's how most of us approach operations, right? We have our what, we have our why, and we'll just figure out the rest, right? So that's a great comment. Katie Grace agrees. I've been operating in a similar way. I'm pretty new to running a business, and it's hard to know how to have a good operations strategy without much experience. Yeah, this is really interesting, because operations is something that almost no one talks about. So talk a lot about your what and your why, right? There are so many blog posts, so many courses. Even I have a course that's about your what, right? How do you create a product that'll sell? Like, what is that product? What needs to go into it? That sort of thing. And there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time talking about the why. What's your perfect day exercise? Who's your perfect client? Even what does that business model look like? What's your goal? What is your plan? How much do you want to sell? But almost no one talks about the how. How do you figure out what actions to take to be able to make that progress toward your ultimate goal, right? It's like you have this goal, you have this vision, you have these plans. That's great, but you need to have the how to figure out, and not just to figure out literally how to do it, because most of us can figure that out, right? We're pretty smart. Whether you've been in business a long time or not, you can usually figure things out at least some way or another. But is that really the best use of your time? Right? Is it really the best use of your time to be kind of shotgun approaching everything? And so I love that, what does a good operations strategy look like? And I'm so excited for the training tomorrow, as you guys are commenting and discussing, because that's exactly what we're going to dive into with the tool that I'm going to walk you through. How do you prioritize? How do you identify those low-hanging fruit that if you just go in there and get it done, it'll make huge difference, right? A small change that can have a huge result. So thank you for sharing that, Katie. I love that that resonates with you. All right. Give a couple more seconds just to see if anyone else wants to chime in with a comment. As I said, if you're not watching this live, feel free to drop a comment anytime. Also feel free if you haven't already, to like our Facebook page. I'm not sure exactly where the subscribe button is because they keep moving and it depends on which device you're on. But we're going to be doing, for the Summer School of Operations, every Wednesday at about this time of day. So it's 11 Mountain, I guess that's 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And what we're going to be doing is Facebook Live, where I'm going to be giving you a small way of looking at a particular part of operations. And so then we can, you can have something that you can act on that week, or maybe something that you can start to think about or do differently. So make sure that you're subscribed to our page. If you're going to come to the training tomorrow, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing you there. I love this comment. Sorry for the thumb in the face, but I have to scroll a little bit. A follow-up comment. The aha is that the operation piece forces or invites, I like invites, me to slow down, to really take the time to think through my business. There's been this fear that if I slow down that I'm going to miss out or lose money or miss potential customers and on and on and on. And yeah, absolutely. But the operations is actually what's going to allow you to serve more customers. It's what's going to allow you to reach more people. One of those definitions that I said I didn't like because it didn't really tell us anything was logistics and supply chain management. In a factory setting, logistics and supply chain management are how do you make sure that your stuff is going to get to the customers who want to buy it. That's a really important thing to have sorted out if you want to be able to sell more. Target came to Canada about 2 years ago now. They bought out Zellers, which was kind of the crappy Canadian equivalent. They bought out Zellers and they were going to make this big entry splash into the Canadian market. They invested millions and millions of dollars into this, this takeover and rebranding and building new stores and advertising. And they invested in new technology and inventory management and yada, yada, yada. Target is no longer in Canada. Target Canada went bankrupt, is out of business. There's empty Target stores just sitting all over the place. They didn't even last a couple years. There's been lots of ink spilled about why that was. Why did Target, of all businesses, you would think they would be the successful ones, right? They're so successful in the States. There were Canadians who would go to the States to shop at Target. So why couldn't Target hack it in Canada? Well, in all the end analysis, the general consensus is their operations was a mess. They didn't have proper supply chain management. They couldn't get their products from the warehouse to the stores for customers to buy it, right? If Target makes that mistake, if Target goes out of business because they haven't thought about how they're going to match their what and their why, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you as a small business owner, as someone who doesn't have the capital backing, right? That's actually probably a good place to leave this thought because it's kind of a downer note, but I think it's also really encouraging that we can look to these other businesses, we can look to the Targets, and we can see what happens when they don't focus on the right things. And then we can take those lessons and we can apply them to ourselves. And so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. With the training is called 3 Essential Strategies for Scaling Your Online Business. The kind of catchy title of it is Grow Up, because this is what your business needs if it's going to grow up and it's going to grow. And then, as I said, for the next about 8 weeks through the summer, every week I will be back here on Facebook Live sharing with you a specific operational approach to one of the key areas of your business that you can apply to start making your operations flow more smoothly. All right? So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the discussion in the comments. If you want to continue that discussion after we're done, of course, I'll be around to chat with you all. But I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And until then, have a fabulous rest of your day.